Chris, it's not fair. What are we doing working? William, who do you have with you all at the dealer board?
In the next room should be Ann Majors, Rick Sipe, and myself, and Lisa Mike Nelson should be around somewhere as well.
Okay. Okay, great. All right. Good. We got a good attendance today. Why don't we start by talking a little bit about old business. Last time we got together, William, we talked a little bit about the proctoring by the dealer board, which I assume we're still doing, and testing where we can. The other thing we talked about is you'd been working very diligently on trying to get an answer on pre-allocated time slots with DMV, and I didn't had made progress on that.
Yes, made significant progress. Been talking with the assistant commissioner for the CSCs. Her name is Tanya Blaine. For the last few weeks, working with her on this, and they're about to reopen the Sterling CSC in Sterling, Virginia, and they have offered us the ability to use Wednesdays, the entire day of Wednesdays, to do testing for salespeople. It comes to about 42 slots if we use it in the half-hour intervals that they're set up for. But basically, every Wednesday between September the 2nd and October the 14th, we can get up to 42 people into the CSC to be tested, which would be great for us because it's a normal process. They go into DMV, they pay the money, DMV will verify who they are, they will test them, the system will score the test. By the time the application gets to us, everything's in the system, ready to go. So yes.
So it's pretty much the DMV process we've been using, and that Sterling location, is that off of Route 7 or Route 28, or where is that?
Well, I know it's in the Dulles area. I have the address, but I'm not sure exactly where it's located. But
okay, so it does help us though in that getting salesperson licensing in that Northern Virginia area.
I think so, significantly. I think so.
Okay. Okay.
Now, there's a caveat to it, Ron, and the caveat is because they're blocking the day for us, we have to compile I guess, a spreadsheet, for lack of better terms, to DMV the Friday before the Wednesday so they can load into the system for that Wednesday. When they do such, they would then send the applicant an email confirmation confirming the date and time to take the test at the Sterling CSC.
Okay. Okay. And I imagine if we don't keep utilizing those slots, they'll eventually allocate them to somebody else.
Absolutely. Yes.
Okay. And I suspect that based on the discussion we've had on this topic on prior meetings, that we should not have any trouble getting 42 slots filled. Is that your thinking?
Well, we hope so. Hope that's the case. I think we might struggle the first week out because it's next week in which it actually will take place. But I think going forward, we shouldn't struggle if what we've been hearing is the case. So
yeah, we're really saying to utilize that first date of September 3rd, we would need to know in 3 or 4 days.
Yeah, September the 2nd.
Right, but I mean, we need to know by this Friday.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Who is attending on September 2nd, and how do we get that word out? How would we get that word out?
Well, I'm hoping today's meeting will be part of it, I guess. We have talked to a few of the dealerships up in the Northern Virginia area that have been utilizing our field rep, so they're aware of it. But then I guess possibly maybe VADA through their channels and other ways can get word out. But we are talking to the field reps, and we just got to make sure that that we utilize those slots as best as possible.
I imagine, is it your dealer talk that must have quite a distribution list? I'm not sure how else we can get that word out.
We can probably do a send post, but the main thing would be for the people to contact us so we can put that list together to get it to the DMV, because we don't want people going into the DMV or contacting them because nobody really knows about it except for a few people. This was intentionally done.
I'm sorry, William. So they have to notify the dealer board. Yes. We have to get the 42 slots filled, and then we notify DMV.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so that's quite a bit of work on the dealer board's got to be the front man on this, And I guess you're booking slots, you said from 8:30 to
4:30.
noon, and then from 1 to 4:30?
Yeah, 8:30 to noon, and then from 1 until 4:30. Yes,
Okay.
and they have
Okay.
3 slots basically per hour, a half hour rather.
Okay. Okay. So yeah, we really need to get that word out and see if we can utilize those slots. And if we think about that Northern Virginia area, if you had to take a wild guess, how many salespeople do you think we would be licensing on an average month in that Northern Virginia area? Is it 200? Is it 300? What do you think the number is on a monthly basis?
I mean, this is purely speculation. I really couldn't tell you. Of the 700 prior to COVID, it might be somewhere in the neighborhood of 100, 150, maybe
Okay,
even
so
more than 200. It's hard to say.
so this gives us roughly 168 slots, right? If I'm doing the math right.
Mhm. A month, right?
Okay.
And we also
I
feel.
thought,
Go ahead,
I'm sorry,
Chris.
I thought I heard before that we had, was it 400 or 500 in Northern Virginia being the hot spot, and then the second largest spot was down in the Newport News area?
Yeah, what you heard before, Chris, and I hope I don't mistake the information, is of the ones that we have done so far, 65% have been in Northern Virginia of the ones that we have done since May 13th. That's not per month. It's since May
Okay,
13th.
okay, since May 13th. Okay, I was under the impression it was 600 or 700 a month. I thought that seems to be extremely high.
700
Okay.
overall was pre-COVID numbers for new salesperson testing, but since we've been doing it in May 13th, majority of them have been in Northern Virginia.
And that
And then
number,
next,
is that what you're saying is 150 or something like that?
I'm thinking somewhere in 150 to 200 in Northern Virginia area probably, but I have no,
Okay,
just speculation.
okay.
Okay. And so up in that Northern Virginia area, we still have the potential, and again, we'd have to figure out administratively how to do this, but we still have the potential of one, either using dealer board people, or two, maybe potentially using the auction houses. I think Alvin and the team talked about last time.
Right.
Any other updates on DMV?
With that said, their attention is now turning to the Tidewater area, which we should not expect the same type of outcome that we got in Northern Virginia. They're going to try to see if they can find some designated slots on on particular day, whatever, in Tidewater to help down there as well. But recognizing that Northern Virginia was a hot spot, they focused their efforts there, and we found a CSC that was previously closed that's opening back up, and they're willing to give us Wednesdays for a 6-week period to see how we utilize it. And as you said
Okay.
earlier, if we utilize it, I imagine we will keep it a little bit longer. But if we're not utilizing it, then we'll probably lose it to other appointments.
Do we, William, kind of an interesting question, and I think Chris kind of alluded to it earlier, is do we know what the salesperson volume currently looks like in these COVID days? I mean, we know it was 700 roughly a month pre-COVID. Do we know to what level? I mean, are we 50% of that number, 90% of that number? Do we have any feel for how many people have been getting licensed each month, let's say as of the May-June timeframe?
No, I couldn't tell you right now. It's something we can look into. I don't think it's of course, I don't think it's the 700 a month we were seeing before COVID, but it's not roughly half, a little bit more. We have to find out for you.
Yeah, that would be an interesting, as Chris alluded to, that would be an interesting statistic to get to just know how much demand we have in each of these areas. And in this case of DMV at 168 slots a month, how much do we need to supplement them? Obviously 42 slots a week is hopefully a good shot in the arm, and hopefully they can come up with something for the Tidewater area as well. As you look at the other jurisdictions out there, kind of the Richmond area, and then the Southwest and what I'll call Mid-South of the state, how do you look at each of those areas as well?
Well, I'm going to start with the Mid-South first, which is down the Martinsville, Danville, Halifax County corridor. We have course, 2 field reps down there working it. We're not getting any complaints from anybody down their way about not being able to provide the test as far as proctoring it goes. And the field reps are not placing any complaints either. So I think we're okay there. I think what we have in place now is meeting the demands of that particular area. As far as the Roanoke Valley area, we're not getting complaints there either. The field reps there have been dispatched to do their proctoring. No complaints from them or the dealerships in that neck of the woods. I'm gonna say Northwest area, which is the Stanton, Winchester area, is spurty. 1 week you might have a bunch of tests to proctor, then it might be quiet for 2 weeks. So, but I think the field rep has control of it there as well. I think in the Richmond area, we get a lot of testing done at the dealerships, and a lot of testing is done here in the office, at the MVDB office in the lobby on an appointment basis. So I'm not really concerned about this area too much right now, but this is what we know from what we've heard from dealers and heard from the field reps. The biggest thing that we've heard mostly has been the Northern Virginia and Tidewater area, especially Tidewater area on the beach side, more so than the Hampton, Newport News side. And of course, Northern Virginia, the whole area just in general.
If you had to, and maybe this is a guess you don't want to make, maybe you'd rather just get this data, do you have any feel for how many tests the dealer board's proctoring on a monthly basis right now?
Here in this office?
Across the state, you mentioned helping out in Mid-South, helping out in Southwest, helping out in Richmond. And you may want to wait on this number, but it'd be interesting to find out if the number is 500 a month and dealer boards doing, I don't know, 50 or 75. I don't know what the numbers would be.
Oh, I can get it for you in a few minutes, but I'll get that number for you. We've done since May 13th, probably over 800, but I'll get an exact figure for you.
Yeah, I would be interested in a monthly basis if you could, and in kind of what areas. I mean, I don't know if VIADA or VADA has any additional input as far as what they're hearing from dealer groups or dealerships in those areas, and whether or not there is, obviously complaints that maybe we're just not hearing about.
Okay.
Alvin, any comments, or Tommy or Ann? Or the comment that was made is that we kind of feel like in Southwest Virginia and Southern Virginia, what I'll call mid-Southern Virginia, we're addressing those areas. Are you guys hearing something to the contrary? Anybody, Alvin, Tommy, or Ann?
Go ahead. Mr. Chairman, Ann Gambardella, I have not heard anything sort of bubbling up. We've obviously had some requests from Tidewater and Northern Virginia, but even so, I think a lot of the efforts are taking care of some of those as well. So it's a lot better than it was initially, even now.
Yeah, I would echo that. This is Tommy Lucas with VATA. I would echo Ann's comments, and we even had some folks further west in the state who at one point were having difficulty getting an appointment at DMV or whatever, and then spoke very highly about the help that the dealer board staff was offering them with remote testing. So I haven't heard any complaints in that regard.
This is Alvin with VIADA. Just today, I did receive a complaint from a dealer in the Tidewater area, an independent dealer, that he's been waiting 2 weeks for a salesperson to get tested.
Okay. And we all recognize Tidewater as a hot spot as well. But William, if we could figure out kind of what that licensing volume looks like over the last couple months on average, how many the dealer board's doing, and any stats you might have by geography, just to get a feel for how well will the 168 handle the issues in Northern Virginia, and what's the right number we need to have in Tidewater to be able to stay in front of that geography as well.
Okay. Ron, before we go further, Alvin, the complaint you heard in Tidewater today, what area is it? Hampton side, the beach side, which side?
Beach side.
Beach side? Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. So how many we're licensing, how many the dealer boards do, and any data that we have that's recent by geography, so we know how well our efforts are helping in each area. And again, I think that if we've got to get the word out on those 42 slots that are available next Wednesday at the Sterling DMV. And if your team can get that word out, or William, you or Alvin.
Alvin, how can we get that word out through VIDA? Can we send out a blast email or something to get the word out to our members? All right, that'd be great.
And we can do the same, and we can certainly target it to the Northern Virginia area. If you, William, if you could just put down in a short little message what they should do.
Okay.
And how it's going to work, that would be great. And then we'll just send out that message.
So I'll send the same thing to Ann and to Alvin, because like I said, it comes down to it coming to us so we can schedule it with the DMV people, but I'll get it to you. Okay.
Yeah,
And also, the ADA, we can also target the Northern Virginia market. We can target different markets as well in the email blast. So instead of sending the email to every member, we can just target the Northern Virginia market from Fredericksburg on down, Tidewater area, Richmond. We can target different markets as well.
So yeah, William, if you can focus on what needs to be done and really, get the word out for the next, what is it, 5 or 6 or 8 or whatever Wednesdays we're talking about. The commitment, I think, runs starting September 2nd through October 14th. So we've got 5 or 6 weeks here where every Wednesday, right, we're really trying to fill 42 slots.
Mm-hmm.
Great job. That's a lot of progress in that area. And I think when we look at the testing volume overall, that's going to be a big help to that Northern Virginia area. And that Sterling location for somebody in Fredericksburg, would that be about an hour ride if you were in Fredericksburg?
Hour and a half tops.
Yeah, roughly an hour, unless somebody like Chris Mayer gets a flat tire on the side of the road and everybody rubbernecks and an hour turns into 3 hours in Northern Virginia. Okay. And so our really next focus for you, William, that you're working on with DMV is Tidewater, and figuring out what they can give up in the Tidewater area. Okay.
Now, with that said, we have talked to a few businesses in the Tidewater area that have conference rooms that might hold up to 10 people, especially on the Hampton Newport News side. And so we're working with them as well. So we are making some headway in that direction, but we need something on the beach side more so than the Hampton Newport News side.
And again, even if we find somebody, we still have to come up with the administrative way we're going to handle this, I guess, through the dealer board as well. Is that how you're going to do almost like you're doing with DMV?
Right, correct. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then you'll proctor it with dealer board people or others. Okay.
Right.
Okay. And then Alvin, I know you're dying to take the floor there. I can tell. So you were doing some work, I know, with was it American Auctions or something down in the Tidewater area?
Yeah, I wasn't able to get through to them, but by speaking to somebody, I tried to call Ann Gabriella this morning because someone told me that Checker Flag in Virginia Beach, that Josh Hamilton, I think he's the general manager. I tried to call him, but I couldn't get a hold of him today. Someone told me they have a very big conference room in that dealership that could sustain a large class, a large testing site. So I was going to try to reach, or I'm going to have Ann reach out to him to see if this is a possibility for William to be able to send their field agents to do a little bit of testing there. But I heard that they have the largest conference room in all the dealers in this area that could do something like that. And also I want to say, in behalf of the Motor Vehicle Dealer Board, that the few people that do call us for getting testing done, and Majors is doing a superb job in scheduling those testings and getting them done in a timely fashion. So I gotta say that there's a lot of good being done on the Motor Vehicle Dealer Board.
Okay, thank you. We appreciate that, and we're not beyond financial donations, right, William? We could use monetary rewards as well, especially to pay vice chairs and those types of roles. for Chris and I. But anyway, no, thank you very much. But testing in Tidewater. So William, if you can stay on the path of any hotels down there, if somebody can check with Checkered Flag, play
Yeah,
on work there.
I'd be glad to call the Checkered Flag folks and let you know.
Okay.
Yeah,
And-
and William, it would be sort of the same setup as you've got at the DMV centers, meaning you all would sort of administer it. We would
Yes.
just be using their facility if they're amenable. Okay.
That's correct, Ann. Yes.
Okay.
And then Alvin, if you hear back anything from American Auto Auction or anybody else down there, who does VIADA use in that area for your dealer education?
We use a hotel in Hampton that has a capacity for 30 people, and it costs us $300 a day plus tax for the entire day. And that's what we use for our class.
Okay, Hampton. Okay.
Hey, Ron.
We used to use the community colleges, but now that they're closed, we were forced to go to hotels.
Okay.
Ron, I was thinking about something that maybe nobody else thought about, but I think about as a small independent guy. So I hire a new sales guy and I need him to get tested as a salesperson, and I send him to my competitor to get licensed, and he's in there talking to other salespeople and hanging out and seeing the incentives. I'm liable to lose that guy to a big guy like Checkered Flag. I don't know if I like that very much. And I don't think it's fair for us to put them in a position to have to go to another dealership to test for as a salesperson. It's like sending your customer on a test drive past your competition who always puts the hottest cars out on the street, you know?
Yeah.
Just my opinion. We got to think about that.
Yeah, no, that's a great comment, and not knowing the facility. Some of these larger dealer groups even have a separate building, and I don't know if it's after store or, Ann, I don't know if you know any more, or Tommy does, about Checkered Flag and the facility we might be talking about. But it's a great point, Chris, that we don't want to turn this into a show and tell by another dealership.
Yeah, I think their corporate offices are located at near whatever one of their stores versus a more corporate office setup that you might see with I know Art Casey has a corporate office in Newport News, for instance, that is in an office park. You would never know it was related to the dealership or some of the dealers that have corporate offices in Fairfax. But I think the Checkered Flag folks work, their corporate stuff is located near one of the stores.
So,
sort of on the same lot, maybe a different building, but sort of the same lot.
Yeah, so worth researching and figuring out whether or not that would be an issue. And then, of course, Alvin, how often are you all doing training in the Tidewater area?
It's almost like every other month.
Every other month, okay.
But that's very easy to schedule that. I mean, it could be done anytime.
Yeah, okay. William, we'll have to see where we end up with DMV down there, but a hotel that seats 30 people would be a great alternative, right?
Would be better than what we have now.
Yeah, so the only issue we really get into is the cost?
It's the cost, right. The place I mentioned earlier on Newport News is for us to use at no cost. So that's why it's attractive. And we think we can do sort of the same thing. Hopefully maybe schedule 1 or 2 days a week, use that facility and address it on that fashion. So look for something similar on the beach side as well as part of the overall solution. So we're hoping that DMV can give us something in addition to what hopefully we can find there. It may give us something close to what we have in Northern Virginia when it's all said and done.
Okay. So you're talking to a hotel that's willing to do it at no charge?
Well, no, it's not a hotel, it's a business. It's a business entity there in Newport News, Yorktown area. They have a conference room. They said it can hold 30 people, but they can do probably up to 7 or 8 people easily for testing purposes and to meet all of the social distancing requirements. And that basically the field rep would have access to it whenever she needed it. She just needs to schedule it and go from there. So that's what we're working on now. Working on trying to get a day or two a week where we can actually schedule it, and then when she gets her request, just direct people to that particular location and take care of the testing at the time.
Okay. All right. In our last meeting too, we have talked now for a couple meetings about self-testing, practice testing, and I think we all agreed in the last meeting that that is something we would take to the dealer board to talk about and to get the board's overall feeling on that. We've talked about the geographies a little bit more. I think, William, if you can get those statistics we talked a little bit about, that would be extremely helpful by geography and kind of what we're seeing at this point in time. Is there any update, Alvin, on the auction houses? I know Mannheim, Fredericksburg, Odessa, Dulles, and American. We talked a little bit about in Tidewater. Any other updates there?
Well, Fredericksburg and Odessa are open. They're willing to accept us. So it's all up to William to schedule and let me know when he wants to do it, and I will open the line of communication directly between Motor Vehicle Dealer Board and those auction houses.
Okay, and if we actually end up in Sterling, we may not need Odessa, right? Because that's right in their backyard. The question becomes, William, the potential value of having something in Fredericksburg on an ongoing basis, and maybe that could also help support at least the Richmond market, and maybe some of those localities to the west of Fredericksburg. I know it's quite a ride to Tidewater, right? That would be, 3-hour ride probably, but I would think, Alvin, from our perspective, and guys, tell me if I'm wrong, Fredericksburg would still be very interesting to pursue.
I agree with you, Mr. Chairman, and also Fredericksburg will be the largest location to do a large amount of testing. You will be able to have 65 seatings at a time. That is a very large amount that we can go ahead and take care of in one day.
Right. And William, it would just be a matter of proctoring, right? We have to figure out how we proctor and do all the administrative side. I know I'm simplifying this, but there's a registration process, there's a payment process, there's a, right?
Right.
Okay. I mean, if you're handling the registration process for Sterling at 40 some a week, and you're handling the registration process for Fredericksburg at some amount a week or bi-weekly, and that, I guess that takes me to another question. We've talked about weekly and bi-weekly. Are we thinking that in an area like Fredericksburg, we need to offer that on a weekly basis?
As far as the auction, I don't see that, but not from what I'm hearing and numbers I'm seeing now. Maybe once or twice a month, yes, but I don't know if it needs to be a weekly basis. But I could be very well wrong as well.
And do you have a feeling, Tommy, about that from VADA or Alvin from VIADA?
This is Ann. I'm just not getting the same volume of calls about it as I was, and I think that's testament to the dealer board being flexible and doing what they're doing. And I also think the customer service centers are just reopening. I mean, there's something to be said for that we started with about a dozen, and now I don't know how many are still left to be open, William, but a lot of them have been reopened on the appointment only basis. So
I think it's only about maybe 10,
opportunity.
Maybe 10 to most will be reopened, but most of them are open. And to Ann's point, that's part of the solution in the other parts of the state, Ron. Those DMVs in the western part have opened up, and they don't have the appointments volume or issues that the urban areas have. So they're able to get some appointments in those places right now a lot sooner than what they're experiencing in Northern Virginia, Richmond, and Tidewater.
But maybe if you offered Fredericksburg twice a month or some some cadence that you all think is realistic, that would help the Richmond area as well.
Mhm.
Mr.
Right.
Sherman, I think in Fredericksburg, bi-monthly will be good. I also feel that once we start sending these emails, we're going to realize there's a lot more violators out there than we imagine that are working not licensed, that they haven't transferred the licenses. And I think we're going to get a more influx of people that are selling without the proper license that have not been properly transferred.
Alvin, did you mean bi-monthly or bi-weekly?
Well, I mean, twice a month.
Once a month or twice a month?
Twice a month.
Okay, so bi-weekly. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Just because you get to see so many people at a time, so you'll be able to accomplish a lot in one day in comparison to other areas.
Right. Right. William, can you handle that many people at a time? 65?
Well, we won't know until we give it a shot. I don't see that many people coming at one time.
Right.
But if we had it scheduled just for a morning slot, say between 8:30 and 10 o'clock, and that was it, we might get that many people, but I just don't see it once everything else comes into play. That's coming into play right now. With the DMV opening up, with the thing at the Sterling office, the proctoring that we're doing at some of the dealerships, I think the demand is getting lesser each day because we're catching up. But we won't know until we get out there and actually see it.
Okay, well, when you get those statistics, that'll be helpful. But I think we're thinking bi-weekly Fredericksburg and probably only one session a day you'd have to do.
Probably. That'd
That
be
kind
good.
of capacity. Okay.
And it gives us a chance to get it done if we do it and get the grit test graded all the same time, and so we can get a jump on a lot sooner than the prior meetings where we were talking about maybe 3 sessions during the day and stuff getting to us the next day. I mean, so
Right.
it makes things a lot easier all the way around.
Well, if we could get the DMV or 2 DMV locations somewhere down there to step up in Tidewater, that would be the big help. That's the shot in the arm we really need.
Well, your problem there, I think, is going to be the fact that those DMVs are already open and they already have appointments 30 days or more out. I think that's what the problem is. We caught one that was opening up, and they're opening up on September next week, and we got lucky with the day that we got Wednesday. Instead of getting a Monday or a Thursday, we got Wednesday, which I think is good. Middle of the week gives us a chance to fill those slots up. I mean, I think we have about 14, 15 slots already filled, but we need to fill up the rest of them as well.
Yeah, or even if we found one that's already been open that says, hey, listen, starting October 1st, or starting if we could just get somebody to cut a deal with us in that Tidewater area, I think it would make a big difference, because then we'd have Northern Virginia, Fredericksburg, and Tidewater covered, and those would address most of the hot spots.
Right. And we're working in that direction, Ron. I mean, you hit it, but that's what we're working on.
Okay.
I have a question for William, Alvin via ADA. How will we set those appointments at these offsite locations, and how will you collect payment on these offsite locations?
We got to work through that, Alvin. We've talked about it internally. We got some ideas, but we got to work through it. So I guess what I'm going to do is I'm going to get with you and get the information from the Fredericksburg auction to talk to the person there to make sure what all of the requirements would be on our part, expectations, and we will start probably formulating that concept at that time. But we're talking about it, so we're working on it.
Via ADA has a small store at the Manhattan auction, and what we did to collect payments on forms that we sell there is we have a portable machine that we go in, we connect, and then we can take payments there, and it does everything that it does like if you were in your own business. So it's just an idea that I'm giving to you just in case you need to collect payments there. It's very easily done to carry that machine, for someone to carry that machine and collect payments at any site.
All right, I'll keep that in mind. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Okay. Any other comments around auction groups, frequency, the areas we've just talked about. Any other discussion? William, Ed, still 2 vendors approved for background checks, or have we added anybody else?
Sad to report, we got 3 actually approved, and we might have another one probably. Well, we'll probably have 1 or 2 more within the next 3 or 4 days. But this morning we just approved a 3rd vendor, and that vendor's name is Reliancy. So, Ann Majors is going to be putting out a send post here pretty soon, announcing them, and we anticipate, like I said, maybe 1 or 2 more within the week, which is put us up to about 5 of them, and we still have about 3 or 4 more in the hopper that we're dealing with, talking to right now. And the hang up is not so much of their ability to do the background check. The hang up is that some of these vendors are requiring a MOU for us to sign, and some of them are not requiring that. And the MOUs that we're looking at, we have one, for instance, that's about 19 pages, and for us to sign it, it doesn't make sense because we're not the ones who's ordering the information. We're not the ones who are going to be paying for it. So we're working through the process with the Attorney General's office and the companies to get the MOUs down to where it's applicable to what we're going to be doing with the information. So it's mostly administrative things of that nature is holding people back. But we have a few of them in the hopper that we're working on right now, but we do have a 3rd one approved, and the send post will be going out sometime today, hopefully, announcing who they are. And as each one of them comes on board, a send post will go out announcing to the world who the new vendor is as far as criminal background checks are concerned.
Okay. Any questions, comments around background checks?
Ron, it's Ann.
Yes, ma'am.
Just one comment. It's just something that a dealer brought up to me that I hadn't even thought about. Dealerships that are using a different company for their background checks now may continue to use the company they're already using and just roll their salespeople over. But understand that the 2 vendors that, or at least one of the 2 vendors that was approved initially, was requiring a year contract from dealers. So even if their vendor eventually gets approved, they're stuck for a year with one of those 2. So I don't know if it's something the dealer board can do to at least encourage those vendors to have fair contracts with their with their customers. I mean, I know that's sort of not your concern, but if you're making the dealers use a particular one, at least be aware. You may just want to ask them what their minimum, contract term is, just so that you know.
Okay, well, we can do that, and I think it's also fair that if we do our next dealer talk, whatever, we might mention to them, they might want to check with those type of questions, because one of the ones that I was dealing with had a 3-year requirement, and I was like, hey, we're not signing a 3-year, we're not doing a requirement, period. But I think that they are doing different things. But yeah, definitely, then a dealer beware of who you sign up with, but we can definitely mention to them and find out. But
Yeah.
we didn't have it as part of our requirements. We didn't have that there, but we can at least find out what that requirement is, if there's such, and maybe some way help the community be aware of what they're dealing with.
Yeah, I just
So-
didn't want there to be some onerous provisions that somebody said, oh, look, we've got a captive audience here. Let's
Right.
lock them down. And somebody gets stuck with a longer contract or a commitment for a minimum number of reports or something along those lines.
And the other thing that I've been telling people also, these companies, is we're not doing criminal background checks on all the employees. We're only doing it just for the initial salesperson application. It's not going to be thousands like I think it is. It's just for this one thing that we've been doing for the past 20, 25 years. So some companies believe that they're going to be, that's required on all of the new people as of August 1st. But we're waiting through that.
So just so I make sure I understand, so Ann, your concern or the comment you were making is geared towards us approving vendors that have lengthy contract terms or difficult outs. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, just be aware that through this transition phase, I know a number of dealerships, and William's been great jumping on contacting them and working through the other vendors, but a number of dealerships have given us names of other background check folks that they use. I mean, people on this call may use different vendors than what's listed for a lot of the different background checks. So, one dealership asked me to send in the name of the person they use that they're going to continue to use for all their other employees. But for purposes of the dealer board salesperson applications, they, chose one of the vendors, but they had to, that was approved, but they had to sign up for a year. Wasn't a big deal from this dealer group's perspective, other than it was just a little bit of an annoyance. But, they did have to, sign some sort of minimum contract, if you will. And just to be aware of that, it may be, I just don't want to see any of these vendors trying to take advantage of the circumstance that, there's only 2 of us approved or 3 or 4 or whatever.
Yep. Minimal contracts, lengthy terms, cancellation policies that are not flexible. Got it. Okay. Good point. William, any additional progress or was there any to be made around the whole emailing and secure email and being able to send in stuff electronically versus having to use overnight mail services?
No, we haven't really done anything with that since the last meeting, Ron. Since last meeting, we've been inundated with these criminal background check companies. Of course, we had Peggy's last day was yesterday, so we had a lot of transition stuff taking place last week after the meeting as well, getting her replacement, who was on this call, Rick Sipe, up to date and up to speed, and get that transition going and dealing with the proctoring. So we've talked about it in terms of how we would do it, and I think we're in favor of it in a lot of ways. The only sticking point right now for us, for the most part, is the payment piece of it. How will we do that? But that's something I think that's going to, once we implement it, I think it's going to be favorable for us because number one, it's going to get rid of some of the mail that's coming in. Number two, it'll get the dealer community in the habit of dealing with the electronic process that will hopefully lead to the portal down the road. So it's definitely something we want to do. We just got to work through it and get it so that it makes sense and something that won't put us, give us additional work to make it work.
Yeah, no, I agree. I just, if you can get somebody on it, because really that's going to really help close the loop on the back of this process. And then we said, by way of the DMV system, by 8:30 the next morning, right, dealers can go in and find out whether or not their salespeople are in fact licensed.
Yeah, go into our system. Now the biggest problem, the biggest concern we have going forward is that dealerships need to understand when they do their criminal background checks and submit them to us, we can say we can turn around in a very quick time period if the background check has been completed. It's possible that a dealership could get an application to us and their criminal background is still being conducted when we receive the application. We can't do anything until that thing is finalized. So we're hoping that by the time they send things to us, that background check has been closed, finished, and therefore we can process it within a matter of a couple of days at the most. But if it's still pending, we have to wait until it's done with. And in some cases, which I hope are a few cases, it's going to mean 4, 5, 6, 7 days, maybe, depending on when the background check is completed.
Right. No, I get that. I just, I like the concept you and I were talking about where there's this separate mailbox.
Mm-hmm.
So licensing gets the priority it needs. And we check that separate mailbox. We can electronically confirm things with the dealership that sent in the information. I do agree with you that the onus is still on them, that everything's got to be completed and completed properly.
Mm-hmm.
But anything we can do to do away with any of the mail services or overnight services and make this electronic, you're exactly right. I think it's one more stepping stone to the portal.
Right.
Okay.
Chairman, something I learned a couple of weeks ago when I was talking to the Motor Vehicle Dealer Board that I was not aware about these background checks is that when a salesperson have moved repeatedly at different directions in different counties, you have to run background checks in all those different counties. And some of those counties take longer to report, like Prince William County, for example, and they might just take 7 days to report when you already have all the other reports from the different counties. So that also, takes the longer process to run those background reports, and I wasn't aware of all that.
Okay.
Yeah, that's people don't know that. I mean, if I was a sales applicant right now and they did a background check on me, it might take a long time because I've lived in different countries as well. I mean, they check wherever you've been, and I've lived in several states as well, so it'll take a long time to do mine. But that's been part of the problem in the past. We don't know where the people have lived. Neither do you, for the most part, when you I guess, sign them up to work for you, and they have to check all the places that they show up. So it can take some time. And also, in addition to that, there's additional costs for each place they go to do the background check. So those background checks that we were doing for $10, in a lot of cases, cost the board about 50 to 60 bucks to actually conduct, which is why we say, okay, we need to get out this business because we're losing a lot of money and we don't have a lot of money in the first place.
Okay. Okay. How about any other old business? And if not, then any new business? Anything that we need to chat about? God, I love the sound of silence. I really can't think of anything else, William. I tried to highlight the things that I thought were open issues from our last discussion. Yeah, I can't think of anything else. Can anybody else? Anybody want to talk about any other issues? And we're about, I think, 2 weeks away from a board meeting.
September the 14th. Yep.
Okay. A little over 2 weeks. Okay. Anybody have anything else they want to add before we close the meeting? And I assume we're going to continue this cadence every week. Yeah, I
Yes.
like it. I think it works out well and it keeps us focused. Okay. If I don't see any other input or hands being raised by the group, I will then assume that we are at the conclusion of the meeting. The meeting will be adjourned and we will meet 1 week from today at 2 o'clock.
You got it.
Thanks everybody for their input. I really appreciate it. I think we're making a lot of progress. Have a great day.
All right, take care, everybody. Bye-bye.
Take
Bye.
care.
Thank you.